Hey guys, I know it's been a little bit, but I've got a new little video idea series that I'll be starting, as well as I'll be starting to bring back more videos, so please stay tuned as we continue to do this. But today I wanted to start a video series, kind of as I'm playing through a video game series. I will review them as I go along. So this series we're going to start is the Assassin's Creed series, and so where we're starting is the first game, Assassin's Creed, the very first one, the one that doesn't have a remaster, that's still only has an Xbox 360 version, or if you're a PC, it's master race kind of deal. But for this part, it's all Xbox essentially for myself. So that's going to be the really cool part. So what we're going to do is every single video, I'm going to be playing through Assassin's Creed, the next game that it is, and then I'm just going to talk about it, sort of review it, and then I'll tier it with the videos prior. So this is the first video, it's the first Assassin's Creed, so it's number one. It's not really a big shock, it's not some big thing I'm going to do at the end of the other videos. It's number one because it's still number one. But once I continue going down the line, it might not stay at number one. It might drop, it might raise itself. Who knows where it's going to end up. So please stay tuned as I continue to do this. These aren't going to, I haven't finished them all at the time of this recording. I'm still playing through them. So these videos are going to be somewhat staggered. It's going to take some time to get through them. So please bear in mind of that. But hopefully some of the other videos I bring out will be enough to help hold over until each video then comes out. I'm trying to play through them the best I can. These games are somewhat expansive. Some of them I have the Ultimate Editions for, like I have the Ezio collection and things like that. So I might accidentally find myself in other missions and side stuff that normally isn't there. It may take slightly longer to get through certain games, so please bear that in mind. But without further ado, let's jump into the first Assassin's Creed. With the first Assassin's Creed, and as I talk about it, I am going to have some clips every now and then of my gameplay of it. I'm not going to try and do anything spoilery just yet. I might talk about spoiler stuff here towards the end, but please, just be respectful as I continue to go through this. So I have played some Assassin's Creed games before. I have beaten one of them. I won't mention it yet until we get to that game, and I've played bits and pieces of others. However, this is my first time seriously setting down, playing through it, being critical about it, as well as just admiring the set pieces and everything that's going on. And so the first game, it takes you into essentially two different narratives, and that's one of the cool things about Assassin's Creed's universe, especially for the first few games. It's got two narratives running at the same time, and one of them is overarching an entire series, essentially, and the other one is specific to that game. We find ourselves knowing Desmond Miles of modern day, or at least modern day to the point of where the game was released. Desmond Miles, he gets captured by a company called Abstergo Industries. Come to find out they are something else, but we go to that a little bit later. And so he is asked, and he's voluntold essentially, to be part of an experiment where he uses the Animus. The Animus is a bed, but it's also a device that allows them to tap into your DNA, and they can extract memories from your ancestors through it. That's already a really cool science fiction concept that's really interesting, and it's something that is constantly being used throughout the series. And so where do we go? We go to the Third Crusades, where we meet Altair. Altair is an assassin, part of the Assassin Order, where he is stripped of his ranks because of he's very young-minded, he is very rebellious, even though he's part of this order. And so he's stripped of his ranks and is asked by the leader of his order to go out and assassinate these 9 individuals. And that's the premise of the game. You visit certain locations like Damascus, Jerusalem, Acre, some other places, but those are the 3 main locations outside of your homestead at Masyaf. So these are very familiar locations to myself. I am I graduated from Ozark Christian College, so that's something that I'm aware of. Damascus and Jerusalem, locations like that are, those are names of locations that I'm very used to. So it's really cool to see the Third Crusades era versions of these places and being able to have the full reign of these locations at my disposal. I just thought that was really cool. As someone who's not only who knows those locations from that kind of perspective, but also is a history person, someone who loves history, this is just a really cool set piece altogether. In terms of storyline-wise, they play both stories out really well. The majority of the story is, of course, told through your character that you're playing as in the year that you are looking back to. So this is the Third Crusades. 90-ish% of the game, you are in the Third Crusades era the whole time. The rest of it is in between primary missions, is where you're hopping in and out of the Animus, you're talking with modern day people, you are discovering why you are there and what's going on. So, as that continues, you start to realize why you're there, what's happening, and then eventually what needs to happen, and the reason why they're looking at your ancestors and the Assassin Order specifically. In terms of gameplay, I wasn't really expecting too much, especially with it being an Xbox 360 game. It's a little bit older at this point, as well as it being the first game in a series. A lot of people love putting the first game of a series at number one because of nostalgia and because of a lot of things. I don't have nostalgia to back up what I believe is good or great with this game universe. So I came in with a fresh mind, and someone who's played some of the newer games, I was not really expecting too much. And come to find out, the game does play really well. There's a lot of familiarity to it. There's a lot of things that I love about it. The building blocks of the entire Assassin's Creed games are here. But that's it. It's the building blocks. There's not too much there. It forces you to do certain mechanics that are more optional in the newer games. There's a lot of different ways to go about doing missions that feel more linear in this one than in the newer games. And that can be difficult for someone who feels more free-reined at the newer titles. Overall, it's still a great game. It's just not what the new games are. And I'm not trying to say it's not great because it's old. I'm just saying they did a really good job improving in the newer games and the mechanics that they've created for this series. They just did a really good job improving it. And now that I'm going back and playing the originals, it's like playing Mario Kart. I love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but when I go back and play Mario Kart 64, or I play Mario Kart on the NES, or the SNES, sorry, then it gets hard because it's older mechanics. They're more basic mechanics. It's not that they're not fun, it's just that they've improved it since then. I think that's one of the main things when it comes to this game series is that the game as a whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Yes, the storyline, if you're not a history buff, especially parts of the Third Crusades, it's a little daunting. You don't know who the characters are, you don't know the set pieces, so there's no emotion into your location. Altair, though he's a great character, he sounds a lot like Desmond Miles. It feels like the personalities are super similar, and so it just feels like the same person, and the personality doesn't explode out from the character very much. And it's also the language and the way they worked the language in the game. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like there's as much power in the dialogue as I wish there were. And then on top of that, the fighting mechanics and the combat mechanics and the stealth mechanics of the game are basic. They're not fleshed out fully like in the newer titles are. And so overall, if you look at them, the game should just be okay. But it's not. It's still a great game. It's still really good. It had to be a great game for it to develop everything that it has become. All of the multiple games, the books, the audiobook, all the really cool things that the Assassin's Creed universe now has is dedicated to this first one. And you knew if you watched the end of the game or you played through the end of the game, you know that they were planning on making more. And I think that's the really cool part. They knew they probably had something bigger than this one game at hand. Ubisoft did a really good job at playing that role. Overall, I think this is a great game. It's not a fantastic game by any means, but it's a great game to get started. The gameplay still holds up to where if you wanted to go back and play them again like I am, you can. It's not unplayable. It's not something that you're going to get frustrated with, which I did get frustrated a number of times at the mechanics because I was wanting to do specific things that the game wasn't letting me, because the newer games would, but this one just wasn't. And that's not really the game's fault, it's just my perspective, and that's hard. Overall, for parents, if your kids are playing this, please be aware of the type of violence it is. You are an assassin. Your whole goal is to eliminate other people, and you're talking about real world characters. You're talking about people who actually lived, people who actually died in one way or another. The game is depicting itself in a way of where these are real life people and they died in these real locations, but you're now a part of the story. And so it is playing into historical fiction really well, as well as science fiction, all in one. And so I think that's a really cool dynamic. It is a rated M title. It is something that is kind of violent. It's got quite a bit of language to it. It's something that is definitely designed for adults, and I think adults is right where it needs to be. It is well crafted for those who understand history well, those who love science fiction, for those who love a nice open world combat video game. And the stealth is not that bad either, so I think that's a lot of the fun part, is slowly walking your way through, being very sneaky, but the game also allows you to go a little bit gung-ho if you want to, but it really tries to pull you into wanting to be more stealthy. I think my biggest issue kind of came to the ending of the game. There was a big moment in the end of the game where it had you fight a lot of characters at once, had you fight a lot of enemies at once, and for me the mechanics just wouldn't let me play properly. There's workarounds, there's some ways to work through it. Obviously you can beat the game, but it just felt tedious. I felt like I was just constantly getting into the skirmish and then running around getting chased in a small area, trying to get my health bar to go back up so I can go back into the fray and keep fighting again. It doesn't feel as polished as some of the other titles were. But overall, like I said, the game itself is greater than the sum of its parts. You might look at it and go, that's not as good, or I wish that was better, but overall, I think it was a great game. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you guys like to stay tuned and watch more of these videos. Like I said, that is the first game, so it's number 1, but I'm going to be playing through the other games as we continue to go about this series. I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have any questions, if you guys have anything else that I might have missed or something I should mention, please leave it in the comment section below, and I will try and get through them as I continue on through the rest of this series. I'll also try and interact the best I can on the comment section. That way you guys know that I'm listening, you guys know that I'm reading your comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.